What up, what up, what up? So, I decided I needed to do a video on keto. I've been talking to you guys for the last 3 weeks about me doing a ketosis diet. I've had comments asking what ketosis is, what's the best meals I should be eating, should I run my proteins higher than my fats. I've had an absolute multitude of questions, so I thought I'd explain in the most basic possible way I can to get it across to you what ketosis is, how you can apply it to your training and diet, whether you're trying to cut for a show, whether you're just trying to lose some excess body fat, whatever it is. I'm just going to try and break it down to you in simple little bite-sized terms and let you run with it. So, ketosis is essentially a low or non-carb diet. Ideally, it's a non-carb diet. If you're unsure what a carbohydrate is, it's your breads, your pastas, your wheats. Those are pretty much essentially your carbs and your sugars. How ketosis works is you take away the carbs. Now, how a carb gets processed in your system, it's the easiest form out of all your macronutrients, so out of your carbs, your fats, your proteins, your fibre, everything else. A carb is the easiest to turn into energy. How it does that is it gets processed and turned into glucose, which has a knock-on effect with insulin, and then it's just the fastest thing to go through your system to use as energy. Now, you're trying to lose fat, so you're trying to get energy from your fat stores. So you don't need to be putting carbs in. I don't know what that was, a bit of a dance. You don't need to be putting carbs in if you're trying to access fat. So how it works, you start off by taking all the carbohydrates out of your meals. So what you're essentially left with is your proteins and your fats. So if all you've got going into your system is protein and fat, where is the energy coming from? So you've got your protein, which is obviously going to aid with your recovery. You've got your fat, but where's the energy coming from? Your body has nowhere else to go but to attack your fat stores. And the way it does this, to get into a phase of ketosis as well, it does take the body a few days to adjust. So you will have to, once you've started it, it can be anything from 3 to 5 days. Your body has to get rid of your glucose stores and glycogen stores, and it'll get rid of all that, and you'll use it just doing what you're doing in the gym day to day. Then your body starts producing ketones. Now, ketones are produced by the liver. And one of the liver's main functions is to metabolize fat. So that's not just what's coming in, but what's already in the body. So if it can metabolize and break down fat and use it as energy when you've digested it, it can do the same when you haven't digested it. So it can go around the body and take fat and start using that as energy. So that's where your energy is going to come from. Not from your protein and not from the fat. And that's predominantly what your diet's going to be made up of. Mm-hmm. You will have vegetables in your diet, but they are just going to be fibrous. So things like asparagus are really good, and broccoli. Broccoli is really good because it helps produce a hormone called leptin. And the hormone leptin, I'd probably Google it. I'm not 100% clued up on leptin, but it does help stimulate fat loss. Anyway, so you got your protein, you've got your fat. Now you've established your energy supply isn't going to be coming from the carbs because they're gone. They're going to be coming from your fat stores. So you've gone through that ketosis stage of getting into ketosis, which takes anywhere from, like I said, 3 to 5 days, and you'll be in ketosis. Once you hit ketosis, your body is literally, it will panic in a way that you won't feel it, you won't know it's happening, but your body is pretty smart. It'll think, fuck, where am I going to get this energy from? I've got these high demand things, that this person's trying to put me through. I've got to do 20 miles of cardio, this, that and the other. How am I going to do it? How am I going to physically run? Now this goes back to probably prehistoric times when man first began. We weren't eating as much as we eat daily. So back in those times, let's say we were eating anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week, and we're probably talking a meal or 2 meals a day. Your body will then have to adapt, because you've still got to get stuff done. You've still got to go and hunt and catch and, you know, and fish and this, that and the other, whatever we were doing back then. So it thinks, right, I've stored fat, I'll start using this now. It's the equivalent of having a backup charger for your phone. So you've got your phone's run out of charge. Fuck, how am I going to use my phone? Pull out your battery, charge it, boom. There you go. You've got more power again. Same with your diet. You know, you've taken out the carbs, you've got no power, you need to get it from somewhere, you've got a bit of fat, the body will go, right, I'll start targeting that. So your liver will then start, because like I say, it metabolises fat. So if your liver's metabolising fat, not only that you digest, but it can also metabolise fat that's in the body. This is where it's primarily going to be getting your energy from. So from this point, if your liver is now taking out the fat from your body, you're in ketosis. So for the next week, fortnight, I'd probably only recommend doing this for a fortnight, because you'll probably find you will plateau after the fortnight anyway. So for those 2 weeks, all your body's got to run on is protein and fat. Now, the reason now fat, and we need to establish this, fat is not bad for you. Fats are really good for you. As long as you're having the right types of fats, they're really good for you. So if you're having like your olive oil, you can get avocado oil, avocados, cashews. What I'll drop a link in below to my site, and I'll do a list of all the keto foods and fats and proteins that you should be on. But fats help with pretty much the running of your body, from balancing hormone levels to neurons firing, a lot of different things. So fats are good for you as long as they're the right ones. Protein's protein. Protein, I'm pretty sure you know it helps with repairing tissue, and a lot of you guys will be thinking, yeah, you have to have me protein, you have to have me 200 grams of protein a day. Protein does what it does. I'm not going to try and go into, I'm trying to keep this as basic as possible, but give you enough information for you to go away and do what you want to do with it. So you're in ketosis for the next 2 weeks. All your body's got to use for energy is fat. If you've got that on point and that on point, you're winning. You are winning. You will only burn fat physically throughout the day. So macro wise, I'm not going to put any calculations up, because I hate doing macro calculations for people, because I think you can get it so wrong so fast. I'd prefer you to do that yourselves. But ratio wise, for the first few days, I wouldn't go higher on, just get rid of some of there. So if you've got MyFitnessPal, which I know probably a lot of you have, I'd put in your protein, we'll do it as a percentage. So you got your protein, I would go 40%. Then you've got your fats. So you've got your fats in there, and I would go at 55%. Now you're thinking, shit, that can't be right. You're only having protein, you're only having fats. But then you've got your vegetables. You're having veg with every meal. Pretty much. There's no, oh, I'm only having, a chicken breast and 2 tablespoons of peanut butter. That ain't happening. You're having your veg. So you got your veg. Now, what I'd class veg as are fibrous carbs. So if you're having broccoli and asparagus and things like that, they are carbs, but they're fibrous. So they're good for you. They do spike you up a little bit because they're digesting so quickly. You can get a little boost of energy from just having broccoli. So you've got what? 5% left. That is your fibrous carbs allowance, which should never exceed anything from 30 to 50 grams, depending on where you're starting from and your knowledge point, per day. That's for male and female. So 40% of your diet should be protein. You should be running your fats higher than your protein, because you don't need a great deal of protein. These all need to be split over I'd probably say 5 meals. So you can have 5 meals every 3 hours. So every 3 hours, sorry, you're going to be having a meal. So you wake up in the morning, there's meal number 1. 3 hours later, you're at work, you've just got into your role in the morning, meal 2. Dinner time as normal, 3. Before you leave work, meal 4. You get home, you're doing whatever you're doing at home. You have your tea at tea time, meal 5. It's easy, it's easily done. Now the reason you eat every 3 hours, so once you've worked out your macros, so you've worked out how many grams of chicken, how many grams of protein you're having per day, how many grams of fat, and how many grams of veg, because these are just percentages. Let's say you've got, let's get rid of that. So let's say you've got, for argument's sake, 100 grams of protein, 120 grams of fat, and for your veg, you've got 40 grams. Now this is just for argument's sake, don't use this in a diet. So once you've worked that out, you've done your meal prep, you know that every meal is going to have 20 grams of protein in it, every meal is going to have 25 grams of fat, and you're going to have to split 8 point whatever grams of veg across all those 5 meals. Okay, the reason you do that every 3 hours is it gives your body a chance to digest what you've put in, and if you're putting it in every 3 hours, it will go through it a lot quicker. And this is when people start talking about speeding up the metabolic rate. Now, a lot of people argue over this and say that you can't. I believe you can. I honestly believe you can speed up your metabolic rate. So when you see young skinny lads and they're eating Mackies and KFC and shoveling it in, no fat, because they've got a fast metabolism, because they're so used to eating little bits so often that it just goes through. The body knows it doesn't need to keep hold of it, because it knows it's going to get more and more and more, and it just fires it out. So every 3 hours will speed up your metabolic rate, which helps losing fat. You've got no carbs going in, so you're only burning fat every 3 hours. And on that note, I think I've pretty much nailed keto. So, to recap, to get into ketosis, you need to drop all your carbs. Breads, pastas, your rices, your potatoes, all that's got to go, the lot, and sugar, got to go. You work out. So if you go on, I'll put the link in below, but mybodybuilding.com does a macro calculator. So you basically put some of your body and stats in there, and it'll tell you how much protein per day, how much fats, and the veg you can work out for yourself with whatever's remaining from those two. So once you've got that, you know how much chicken you need to cook in a day, how much olive oil you need to apply to each meal, how many cashew nuts you need to eat as a snack. Then you know how to split those across 5 meals. Then the meals will be small, but you're not going to get that hungry, because by the time hunger hits, you probably do that next meal anyway. And if you look back to my previous videos, water, if that hunger does hit after a couple of hours, you bang that water in, because you're supposed to be drinking 2 to 3 litres a day. So you've got 3 litres of water, 5 meals a day. You can't be hungry. You might be having cravings, but you can't be hungry. So, like I've said, maximum of 2 weeks. Don't run it any longer. It's not worth it. You'll probably find by the end of the 2 weeks, you've hit a peak, you've plateaued. You're not going any further with it anyway. At that point, I'll have another video out on what to do after keto. So if you've got any questions, you think I've missed something, because I might have, drop in some questions below or comments. I'll put some links into what food types you should be having, how to work out your macros with a link to a calculator, and I'll also put some meal prep ideas on there for you as well. But on that note, that is pretty much keto in a nutshell. I'm gonna love you, I'm gonna leave you. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, look out for more content. I appreciate you watching the whole video, and I'll see you soon. Peace.